everybody, and welcome, Kelly. So Kelly is my very special friend of not so long, but it feels like I've known you forever. Kelly Walk Hines. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate our friendship and relationship over the years.
Yeah, we started writing our books at the same time, I think.
Yes, we did. That's how we met. And
I think we formed a trauma bond. I'm sure we formed a trauma bond during this whole process of trying to publish the book.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so Kelly, I know that not everybody has seen your talk on the Trauma to Triumph Summit. And so just as a little reminder for everybody, it's called Trauma to Triumph because people can come from extreme trauma and they can come back from it, and they can overcome, and they can become whole people who are successful and inspire others, which is exactly what you are doing. So I want you to start from the beginning. So your parents were divorced, and your mother had a new boyfriend, and you were small. So we're going back to when you were 3 years old, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember anything about the atmosphere in your house, even although you were about 3 years old?
No, I don't remember anything of that time, which is a blessing and a curse. But my siblings who are older than me have talked about how my mom, unfortunately, had chosen men that were abusive, including my dad. And that's why my dad and my mom weren't together. They didn't, I wasn't even born actually when they split. So then she met somebody else. And she actually fled from New Jersey to Florida to dad and met somebody else. And he ended up killing her while we were at school one day and left us without any parents in the state. And thus began my journey of becoming the invisible child and trying to find my way in life in a lot of trauma after trauma after trauma. Because with my mom dying, that was the beginning. And then we went to live with people who weren't equipped to take care of 5 kids that have been through trauma. So we just had more trauma. And then I was taken from my siblings because I was my dad's only kid, and taken with him and my stepmom, who was nice, and my stepbrother.
Okay, so let's just stop for a minute, because at 3 years old, you come home and suddenly your mom is not there. So what is your biggest memories over the next 2 years between 3 and 5? What is it that you can remember from those years?
Yeah, we were left at school with nobody to pick us up, and they called the emergency contact, and it started, we had to literally give up anything that was comfortable, any kind of, parental figure. We started over with this new family, with a new parental figure, with a new home, with a new state, with new rules, with new, we weren't getting the emotional needs met at all. So we went through this trauma, but they were never talked about. You didn't ever address it. You never were able to process it. And that causes a lot of trauma for kids, even more. You have your trauma, and then you have more because you're not able to release it, and you don't learn how to release it. Then as soon as I get this new home and new rules, new family, I'm pulled up again within 3 years, and I have to go live with a whole new family. I didn't know my dad at all. I didn't know anything about him. And he expected, because I was his child, that, he owned me. And I have court documents that say at 3, when he started coming back around, that he would put his hand over my mouth and drag me out to the car. And I'd be screaming because he was this big guy with a big beard and mustache. And I was already in an unfamiliar environment. I already didn't have my mom. And I was 3. I didn't know she wasn't coming back. I'm sure I looked for her and wondered where she was at and wondered who these people were. And it just began a lot of years of just being and not really belonging or not really. And then as soon as I figure anything out, I go with my dad. And, you think the court said that any loss of or any harm by taking me away from my siblings would be okay because I would have, a mom and a dad and a brother. And that could have worked, but my dad was abusive. He was into drugs and alcohol, and he had mental illness. And that, so I lived with a lot of violence, and I learned even more just to be invisible because I was scared every day. So it was hard. It was really, really hard. And the things, when you haven't been through trauma, it's hard for people to understand what that really means, what it means to be so afraid, what it means to, as simple as even not getting read to or not being, if I would fall as a kid, I would hide it. One time I was playing a ball, I went to catch and I jammed my finger like we've all done. Instead of having somebody I could run and tell, I kept it to myself because I was afraid of getting in trouble because my dad would be angry if I did anything. And if I hurt myself, then I'm drawing attention to myself and I could get hurt. And it's a really scary way to grow up, just being afraid.
So Kelly, before you went to your dad, while you were with these strangers, I suppose they were foster parents?
They were, I found out later, literally when I was like 40, that they were actually distant relatives.
Oh, okay. All right. So, and there were 5 of you. How many kids were you?
5 of us, from 3 to 11.
Yeah. So the photo that I used on the video is the photo of you as a family, and you the smallest one, right?
Yes. Yes. Okay. That's about the age when my mom passed.
Yeah. So and that's on the cover of your book. So and that's why I, in the beginning was drawn to you, because I recognized this whole principle of invisible child. So it was really, for me, important to get to know you and to find out your story. So when after your mother was killed, did anybody help you to understand it? Anybody in your family, did your siblings get counseling or help of any kind? Were you allowed to talk about it?
No, we weren't. We weren't allowed to talk about it. We were expected to act like normal children that had not just had our life devastated. We didn't know our dads at all, and we didn't have a mom that we knew that she loved us. And now we don't have her, and you weren't allowed to talk about it. I never was allowed to talk about it ever, because if I talked about it, then that was an attack against my dad. So I was not allowed to. And you didn't get therapy. I mean, especially back then. I mean, it's a different climate than it is now. Mm-hmm. But nobody was trying to, it was just like you had to even my dad ripping me away from my siblings. I had to just get over it. And
let's talk about that.
Huh?
Let's talk about it, because who became your main support system? Was it one of your sisters, I think?
My siblings were amazing to me. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that they loved me and they were always with me. And even when I went with my dad, I knew that they loved me. And so when we were living at that house, and it was not a good place to live. Like I said, it was really unkempt, and it had a lot of diseased animals, and we didn't have heat. We didn't even have running water. If we did, it was cold water. So it was not a safe place to be. Or I didn't feel safe, but I always knew, because I was with my siblings, and that was my familiar. That was something familiar to me from being little, and they did love me and protected me, and I was always the baby sister, and I felt that love. So when I was pulled away from them, I remember coming home from kindergarten and them telling me I had to go live with my dad. And I was devastated. But I knew not to say anything. I knew from little not to react and not to make noise. And I think I cried, and I did cry, but I didn't argue with my dad. I just went. And I remember him picking me up, and my siblings were all crying. And I remember driving away, and I was in the back seat looking back and watching them, and they were crying, and it was really traumatic. It was any amount of normalcy that I knew, and the people that were there for me, that did love me, were gone. And I had no idea that within a year, my dad wouldn't let me even see him. So I had to and that's how my whole life went. I was always used to just leaving whatever I had, and that's why today, material things don't mean anything to me, because I was used to just leaving them. You just leave behind whatever. And I literally had 3 different families by the time I was 6. And permanency doesn't, you don't expect it. You don't expect people to be permanent in your life. You just know that it's a limited amount of time that they're going to be there.
It's so tough, Kelly. And I've heard it a few times, and it still touched one deeply. Okay, so all the more reason why I so much admire who you are today. Okay, so we're going to get there, how you got there. Okay, so now we need to talk a little bit about your dad. So your dad is a harsh man, and what he wants, and somebody else's opinions are not important to him. And so you live in a house in which there's only one person who's supposed to be happy, and that's your dad, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how he...
And if he's not happy, what happens?
I'm sorry?
If he's not happy, what happens?
If he's not happy, and even if he is happy, he would go from happy to mad to whatever. Because of his mental illness, and between that and any drugs that he took, made him very paranoid. So he always assumed you were against him. I mean, it could be simple as you didn't like something that he didn't like, and he would just freak out. And I learned really little. I would hear the way he would talk to my stepmom. I would just listen and hear. She would not even really say anything. She was singing a song one day, about a popular song back then. It was, if you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with. It's just a song. It's just she got beat for it because he thought she was singing about her boyfriend. And that's kind of how it went. And you learned very early, I did anyway, to just not like anything on my own. I had to like what he liked. I knew what he liked. I calculated everything that I said. I made sure that I was exactly who he wanted to be. I went to school and I was quiet. I did what I was supposed to. And the teachers will always say that, I was such a good kid. Well, because I knew better than be a bad kid. I knew better. I didn't do anything that would draw attention to me because
if attention came to you, you would be the one that he would hit, like he was hitting your stepmom.
Yeah, he would abuse my stepmom and my stepbrother also, because my stepbrother would say things and had an opinion, and it wasn't nothing bad, but I mean, you just saw it. If he didn't agree, I've seen him, rip my stepbrother out of bed and beat him because he wanted to see his dad. And that's really sad. And I knew I could hear it, and I would, and you could hear them fight or hear him hit my stepmom, but you weren't allowed to cry. You weren't allowed to be sad. You were literally had to act like nothing happened. And if my stepbrother would cry, he would come get him. And I heard that and I knew. So I learned to keep every emotion in my head. I couldn't even be happy, because if I was happy, why am I happy? What am I doing? What am I, plotting against him? And he would come home And literally it was 24 hours a day because you never knew what mood he would be in. And even if he would be happy, like I said, it would be something quick. He would come home at night, and you could hear him. You could hear him pull in, and my heart would just sink. If I was downstairs, I'd grab myself and run upstairs, and you would listen how hard the car door shut, how he slammed the door when he came in. And if we were up, he would tell us to go to bed. If he wanted to fight with my stepmom at 5 o'clock at night, he would make us go to bed. And no, you didn't have dinner, doesn't matter. You don't say anything. You just go upstairs and you get your pajamas on and you go to bed. And then you would hear him beat her. And once you've heard somebody getting hit and called horrible names, this person that you love, and you can't do anything about it, it's devastating. It really is devastating.
So,
and he would come up at like 10 o'clock at night, wake us up, and we'd have pizza, and he'd act like nothing happened, and you had to be like nothing happened.
Okay, so now when you've gone through all of these and you've managed to get out and you are now rebuilding a life for yourself, okay? So you've managed to get out, and when you have given up your entire identity, you've given up all your wants and needs and light, you have given up your opinion, and you have not even thought about using your voice. There was no option for it. And so you managed to get out, and you are now in the world. And you've been an invisible child. How did it impact on you? You know, tell us about the insecurities and the stuff that you needed to fight in order to get back into the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I literally had to learn what I liked, because everything I liked was because of him, because of what I thought he would want me to like. So I had to learn. And when I left with just the clothes on my back and my nursing books. I just knew that when I was 21 years old and I was still, taking care of them and doing stuff around the house, and I was going to school, I found faith when I moved into that second house after my mom had passed. And, like I said, I didn't understand all the Bible verses and all that stuff, but I knew that he loved me. I knew that God loved me, and I knew that I was created for something more than just trauma and sadness. And I really do believe that his love is what has sparked me to go forward and to fight for myself. And once I got free, it wasn't always easy. Like, it took a long time to get where I'm at today. But from the beginning, I learned to love myself, and I knew that I was never going to go back to that sad little girl. I was going to fight for her to have a future. And, I had to deal with it. I don't mean like I just ignored it, like it didn't happen. I just meant, I had to make changes so that I stood up for myself. And it takes a long time. It's still a process. It's still a process of learning to fight for myself, but I fight for my kids. And that's always been from day one. From when I turned 23, I had my daughter, and they'll tell you, there is nothing, you don't mess with Mama Bear. I knew that my kids were going to have a different childhood than I did. And in doing that, I literally focused on that. That was my primary goal. And it's been great.
Okay, so I can see that you had two very big exciting things. And let's talk about a few practical things. So if you are invisible as a child, then it means you don't believe that you are good enough. So was your faith enough for you to believe that you are good enough, or did you actually struggle with it?
Oh, because I compartmentalized as a child, because I was able to, I was horribly sad at home, but when I would go to my friends and the comfort of my friends' home, I had a few friends that their parents were so wonderful. Like the Powell family when I was in elementary school, and my friend Leslie's mom when I was in middle school, and then when I met my best friend in high school. So I was able to compartmentalize where I still had this trauma and this sadness, but I knew that I wanted to do different. And it does take a while. You do second guess yourself. I second guess myself still sometimes, but I definitely did when I was younger. I thought, and you have people telling you that, well, you came from a bad place, so you kind of aren't worthy. Or, I was in a relationship where the person told me that, because I came from a dysfunctional family, I didn't know any better. And the other thing, when you come from trauma and come from being the invisible child and not having your own thoughts, when I got free, I found one of the hardest things I had to do was regulate my emotions, because I was used to just doing it all in my head, and you couldn't see from my face whether I was mad, sad, happy, or glad. But when I got free, I was so hyper and crazy that I would just be like, and when I would be happy and show you that I was happy, and I still sometimes do it, like I almost would shake because my body was not used to dealing with those emotions. There's so much that goes on inside inside a child that's been traumatized. But I'm here to tell you that there is a way out, and healing is possible. Therapy is so important. I can't express that enough. Therapy helped me tremendously, and I became a psych nurse, so I learned a lot about trauma.
You can see in other people too. Okay, so there's the invisible thing which goes to not good enough, and then the other thing which is very hard for people if you're coming from a dysfunctional home is learning how to have a no and how to have boundaries. So could you do that?
Yes.
How hard was that for you?
Tremendously hard. To go back on the first part, you were just asking me about self-worth and about feeling. I had to learn early that I am good enough the way I am. I'm not perfect. I'm not exactly like you. I'm not exactly like anybody else. I'm going to be different. I grew up different. I'm not going to be the same as somebody that hasn't had trauma. And I had to learn to be okay with who I was and be okay with how I handle things. And I had to learn what triggered me. And I had to learn, that kind of stuff. And I had to learn how to do that. And I think that, when I decided, that I am good enough, even though my good enough might not look like your stuff, I am good enough because I try. And as simple as that sounds, I knew if I tried 100%, that's all I can do. All I can do is try the best that I can do. So what was your second question? I'm sorry, I just had thought of that. And what was your second question?
About the boundaries.
Oh, about the boundary. Oh, gosh. Yeah. I finally, at 51, have pretty close to perfected it. It took a long time to get here. When it came, like I said, when it came to my kids, that's a whole different story. I protected them like a mother bear. But myself, I didn't always do that because I felt like I needed to I don't know. I didn't even really understand about boundaries, and I didn't know how to stand up for myself because I never was used to it. And I never felt like, I had that right to tell somebody no, or I'm not comfortable with that or whatever. And it took a long time of being able to say, I care about you, but this is really affecting me when you do this. And like I said, becoming a psych nurse really helped because I was able to learn how to tell people and how to get boundaries, because you have to have boundaries for yourself and to protect yourself, or people will run all over you. And a lot of people think because I'm really nice that I don't have boundaries, but I do have boundaries. I have certain things that are a no, you are not going to cross it. You're not going to do that. But there's a lot of things that you don't have to be perfect for me to love you. But when your stuff starts hurting me, then that's when I really need to look and say, this is not working out. And I've had to distance.
Yeah, that's so important, because when you do that, you stop being codependent. Because as
Yeah.
long as you allow other people's stuff to hurt you, then you are codependent, which is,
Yeah.
of course, exactly how you've been brought up. You have been brought up in a codependent relationship with your dad, where you had to allow him to be okay for you, and you could only do that by not being okay yourself. Okay, so next question on limiting beliefs that comes from trauma. Now, I want to be clear, it doesn't only come from as extreme trauma as yours. Your trauma was extreme. That it's not everybody's story is like that, but anybody who's invisible as a child, anybody who don't believe what they see, like you couldn't believe what you see because the adults were acting in one way and they didn't explain anything to you. Anybody who faced huge uncertainty because a loved one was yanked away from him. So there's a lot of reasons, and it doesn't have to be as severe as yours in order to have limiting beliefs. Okay, so the limiting beliefs are the same. It's just the degree of them that gets worse. So from not having boundaries and from not having wants and needs, or allowed wants and needs as a child, giving up on your wants and needs. So did you become a people pleaser?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't intentionally mean to, and I feel like I became a people pleaser in a different way because it's not that I tried to people please for people to like me. I would literally see people in pain or have a problem and I would have to fix it. So that was my thing. It's like I did it out of it would hurt me to see somebody else so in pain. So I would just be like, we need to fix it. And so I think a lot of times it looked like I was trying to people please when I was really just trying to help people not hurt, because I know what that felt like, and I didn't want that to happen. I did, used to have problems more with saying no. I always, and it wasn't that so much that I couldn't say no. I didn't want to say no because I always wanted somebody to help me. I wanted to always be that person for other people. Like I always wanted, but I also learned that people have their own stuff and they have to go through certain things, and I can't always fix it. And I can't always, so I had to learn. So I get what, with the people pleasing, but I kind of did it around a different way. And
not
what
to be like
people with trauma, people say to me, oh, well, my story isn't as bad as yours, but you know what? It's still valid. It's still important. If it means something to you, if it hurts you, then it is important. People went through worse things than I did. My siblings went through, when they stayed, they went through worse things, I feel like, than I did. But that doesn't make anybody's story any less. If it hurt you and it caused you trauma, then it's important to talk and to deal with.
Yeah, actually, in a way, it's easier to talk to somebody like you who had such obvious trauma that you couldn't normalize it, because a lot of people out there walk around with this exact same problems and belief systems, but because in their heads they normalized their childhood, they don't know it. They have no idea that they've been traumatized. It's only once you start once you start really talking to people that, and you start asking them about it, and you go like, and that day, and how's that not trauma? So people, they push away the trauma. It's not available to them then as adults. They don't understand, like, how can I not, why don't I have confidence? Why can't I do this? Why am I so reactive? What's going on? Why can't I have relationships at work? Why it's hard for me in society? Why is the job not going the way that I want to? Why do I have difficulty asking for help or saying no? Because they squished away those things and they normalize it, because it's so important for children to normalize it. Okay, let me ask you the next question. All right, so are you able to ask for help for yourself? Was everything your responsibility?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to ask for help. It really, 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 really is hard. That is one of the problems I still struggle with, because I want to do everything myself, because I've always done everything myself. And, but I'll help you in a second, and I'll be mad if you don't ask me for help and you did it yourself. And I've gotten a little bit better with that. And my kids, now that they're grown, they don't give me a choice. They're like, no, Mom, you're not doing that by yourself. You're not.
Kelly, I'm going to sign you up for the limiting beliefs course, so we can get rid of that one. Okay. All right. So we've dealt with a few of the obvious limiting beliefs that comes out from having trauma, but a lot of people have. There's many other ones that are not so obvious, and there's many others that that really derail our life. Like my last limiting belief was I wasn't lovable. I kept on believing it, but I didn't know I was believing it. I always felt I had to do so much more because I couldn't be lovable. But I didn't have a word for it. It took me a long time to realize it. So we walk around with this hidden hurt until we get lucky and it becomes clear to us. So I want to recap here. So you found very young, you find a lot of peace and encouragement and acceptance is the word, in your faith. And so that have given you sustenance through all of these years in which you were not nurtured at all, not seen at all, not appreciated at all, not encouraged at all. But that one thing that you had gave you enough to persevere. Okay, so that's a really important thing to notice, that if you have faith or if you have saving people in your life, that can be enough to get you through. And I'm sure your sister's love, the thought of your family's love,
absolutely,
must have carried you too.
They did. They would write me letters. And even when my dad wouldn't give me the letters, because I had that love, I knew that they loved me. And even if I didn't see them, and even if I didn't, get to hug them, and I knew that they loved me. And that was a tremendous, tremendous thing for me. What you were talking about too is the insecurities about, just growing up. I didn't, and I still have to remind myself that I am okay, that I am worth it, that I do. But when somebody else has told you what to do your whole life, and you did it according to what you thought they wanted, then I didn't know as an adult how to do normal things, how to process normal things that other people did. So I always second guessed myself. I always felt like, am I doing this right? Do I know what I'm doing? And it's a struggle. But the best thing I had through faith is hope, because to me, hope is an action of faith. And hope, I always had hope that tomorrow will be better. If I work hard now and I work on myself, I loved myself enough to know that things will get better, and things do get better, and relationships get better. And I had no idea what I was doing as a mom. I really had no idea. But if you ask my kids, they act like I was an amazing mom. And it's like, I appreciate that. I gave it 100% for sure. But there's things that I didn't do that were, normal or whatever. And so I think we need to be a little more gentle to ourselves, and we need to know that it's okay if we do things different. I am completely outside of the box with everything I do, and I've taught my kids to be that way. So
yeah, that's great. Okay, so Kelly, so this very experience of you knowing that God loved you, knowing that your family loved you, I mean, this is so big because, like I just said, I didn't believe that I was lovable because I didn't feel love from my family. Except for my grandma, I didn't feel love from my immediate family. But you probably didn't have such a big problem as I had with feeling lovable because you knew you had people who loved you. And then you found the biggest cure, which is the most important thing, which is so hard for many people, and you found it so early on, which was loving yourself, because that is so hard for people to do, and you found it very early on, and that's completely amazing. And then the next thing that happened to you, which was a big saving thing, was you became a mom, and because you gave them love, you saw what love looked like, and you saw what care looked like, and you saw what you wanted for them and what you didn't want for them, and that helped you again on your journey. And then you got therapy, and then you worked in an environment in which you could help other people, which meant if you help other people, then you cement your own growth. Did I sum it up right?
Absolutely. That's exactly it. And my whole life have felt like with helping kids and being there for kids and being the person I wish I had, and helping people as an adult, because we all need that little person to help us and cheer us on. And, if I like you, you know it. And I'm your biggest cheerleader because I believe in people. And it's, somebody said the other day that, sometimes people put on an air of being happy, but they're really not. And the thing is I am a happy person. Have I had trauma? Have I had stuff happen as an adult that were really horribly sad that have broken my heart? Yes, I have. But that's not all of me. Those moments are not all that I am. And I know that I always felt like I am more than that. And, I work through my trauma. So when I say I'm happy and when I'm putting happy stuff on Facebook, I'm not pretending that I'm happy, trying to psych myself out. I had plenty of days where I feel sad. I had plenty of days where I feel sorry for myself. I sit in the bathtub and, cry and, but I have to let myself be real. And I'm a happy person, and people don't understand that sometimes because they're like, how can you be so happy when life sucks sometimes? Well, it does suck, but I know what it's like to be sad, and I like to embrace every piece of life. I appreciate the small things that some people take for granted. Just like yesterday, I saw a little dandelion that you can blow and make a wish. And I put it in front of the sun, and I took this really cool picture.
Oh, I saw it. It's awesome. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I was just taking the trash out, but I try to pay attention to little things, and I try to give myself a break, because guess what? I am not perfect. I mess up a lot, but I'm okay with it. And another thing I had to teach myself is that I don't have to know everything. Some people think you have to know everything or you're dumb, or you don't want somebody to think, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Guess what? There's 8 million, billion, bajillion things to know. You can't possibly know everything. And I'm a nurse, and I'm a specialized psych nurse. And I don't know necessarily cardiac stuff. I mean, I know the basics, but I don't know the in-depth stuff because that's not what I do. And I'm not afraid or embarrassed to tell you I don't. And I think growing up alone and I was by myself, I think somehow I built some kind of confidence in myself that has helped me as an adult. So.
Okay, so Kelly, then there's another thing which I think is quite important for us to to just talk about, which helps one get over your limiting beliefs and your fears. And this is finding a passion.
Yes.
Because once you find a passion, your passion helps to push you through your fears and through your limiting beliefs. Because
Yes.
when you put your attention rather on where you want to go, and like you are passionate about helping people who's been subjected to trauma, to stop it, to highlight it, to bring awareness to it, to give a voice to people who have been traumatized. So that's why you wrote a book. That's why you've got a public profile. That's why you've got a Facebook group. That's why you are here with me on Facebook Live today, for somebody who's come from invisible to be willing to be visible. I understand it because I had to do this self. I had to get from being an introvert and extremely shy and get over myself and build my confidence, and being the thing that managed to get me to be in public was simply my passion. So it's so important, don't you think, to have a passion that will push you forward.
I agree. It's so important and it gives you hope and it gives you something to look forward to. And it doesn't have to be any passion that anybody else even understands. It's what's passionate for you. And for me, I have a lot of passions, like, homeless people and foster kids have my heart. Like, if I could adopt literally every child in the world, I would. And my boyfriend's always like, no, you really can't do that. And I'm like, why not? But it's what
cats.
Me. Yeah, it's what fills me. It makes me happy. And if sewing, even if it's sewing or coloring or whatever makes you happy, do it. And you don't have to. Nobody has to like it. That's the best part about it, is some people can appreciate me and some people can't, and that's okay. I don't intentionally try to make people annoyed at me. But if they're annoyed because I'm too happy, and I've had people that are annoyed at me because I'm too happy, that's okay. I wish, I pray that you do better. And when people act crazy and I stay calm, people don't know how to take that either, but that's okay. I'm trying to teach and love people even when they're unlovable. And it's hard to do sometimes, but it's important. It's just so
you can do it. You can do it because you love yourself, and that's so important. Because for people who don't love themselves, you struggle to give so freely. Kelly, let's look at a few comments. We've got quite a few comments here. Okay. Yeah. So George, you grew up in an orphanage, I think, if I'm right, and so you understand every single thing about being invisible. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, maybe thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I think one day I must talk to you, George.
Yes, I would love to too.
Yes, I think I must do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with images engraved in you? Okay, let's hear it, Kelly. How do you deal with images engraved in you?
Just knowing that people are listening and that somehow my words can make a difference literally makes me want to cry. It's hard because I was told some terrible things as a child, and I was made to feel like I wasn't worthy, or being afraid of stuff. It's hard. It's so hard, but I have positive self-talk, which, I'm telling you, if we talk to ourselves every day, and so whether we do it negatively or positively, our brain is always going. So I'm a big believer in, when negative thoughts come into my head, I turn it into something positive, and things that, even with my past, I use that as I don't forget it, because you can't forget it, but I use it as something to push me forward, that I'm not going to be that way, and I'm not going to treat people that way, or whatever the thought is. And there's so many when you come from all that trauma. And I'm telling you, loving yourself is so important. Know that you're worth loving, so that if somebody isn't feeling like, they love you, or they don't want to be with you or near you, that's okay, because there's other people that do love me and care about me. And I love myself. And so I think that That's the biggest thing, is positive. Just talking to yourself. You don't live there anymore. That trauma is there because you lived through it, but you don't live there anymore. You're a different person now. You know what I mean by that? Like you're more healed and you're more in control of your life. I couldn't control anything as a kid. And I knew that when I got to be an adult, I could. And I think that helped me a lot too, as an adult, that I can control as much as you can, my adulthood. So I think that's important to know, that you can control today and going forward. You can't control anything that happened in the past.
Kelly, didn't it help you to write about it?
Oh, it helped me tremendously. It was one of the hardest things I ever did, was write my book. I can't tell you how it helped me, how much I did it when I was 40, and I went through a couple years of really intense therapy. But now I can't even explain inside how I feel when certain things come up. I'm able to handle it different. Before I got therapy, because of all the fighting I saw and all the anxiety of being threatened, I couldn't even walk by the TV and see boxing on TV, because the anxiety of two people hitting each other would literally send me into a panic attack, or people arguing. If somebody would argue in front of me, I would literally try to get in the middle of it so we could solve the problem, because when I grew up, arguments ended up in physical altercations. And so learning that and healing and learning that that's like, people can argue and raise their voice, and it doesn't mean it's going to be violent. So it's a process, but I talk myself through everything. And writing the book is tremendously healing. And I'm writing, I've wrote a few in between, like journals and stuff, but my next book is called Memoirs of a Loud Woman, because that's what I am. I'm not the invisible child anymore. I'm a loud woman who is willing to tell anybody what I've been through and how they can do it too.
Yeah, I was going to say to George exactly the same, that it's about self-love, because the more you love yourself, the more you just have to give to others. And then you sort of automatically direct your attention away from your hurts. Your hurts become just your story. It doesn't control you anymore. It doesn't direct you anymore.
Right.
But the tools that you use is talking through it. So that, because I used to do men's groups and women's groups, and there in those groups, you allow people to talk and talk and talk and talk and flesh little bits out and cry and support each other and cheer each other on and hear each other out. And so in talking, there's so much healing in it, and having people hear you and support you, that's enormously valuable. And then the third thing, which if you don't have any of these, write it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And reach out to other people. If you feel like you're completely alone, or you feel like I can't talk to the people in my immediate future, in my immediate existence, you can talk to somebody from the church. You can talk to therapists. There's people that are out there to listen, or you can message me. I'll talk to you. I've talked to many people. I love to talk to people and try to help them. Sometimes you just need that support to know that you can do it.
Okay, so let's say hi to the rest. Okay, so there's a lot of messages here. We've got to go through them. Okay, so hi, Mia. So it's great that you're here live. Okay, so George, you're right. We do what we told, and then when we're adults, we don't listen at all. If we don't
exactly as an adult,
yeah, nobody must tell us what to do. Forget it. It's not going to happen. Okay,
I tell people, if you want me to do something, just ask me nicely. I'll do anything in the world for you. If you say it rudely or I have to do it, I'm not doing crap.
Yes, exactly. That's the typical thing of an adult child syndrome. That's what we do. Okay, so here, Mia, that's for you. Okay, so and there's another one for you.
Thank you.
There's another one for you.
Mine too.
And another one.
Thank you.
Okay, here's another question. George is on the good questions tonight. Does it happen to you that you go in life always trying to fit and please others? Yeah, but that's when you still have got limiting beliefs. When
Right.
that's what we've been talking about. As you cure yourself and you heal yourself, you don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Then you learn. What Kelly said was so true. It's like she's not willing to injure herself anymore for others. Where before you are healed, you do it all the time. Other people's needs are more important than yours, right, Kelly?
Exactly. And I refuse to do that. And I will, and I'll help anybody, but don't tell me that I have to, or tell me I did something wrong. And I always teach my kids, people can be mad at you and that's okay, but you can only control what you're doing. And if you know you did something for the right reasons, then people can react the way they want to react. And, that's what I always, we have to believe in ourselves. Because if we don't believe in ourselves, then we believe what other people tell us about ourselves. And I'm not willing to do that because I know that I try. I know I'm not perfect, but I try to do the best that I can do to be a good person. And that's okay with me. I'm okay with that.
Good enough. It's definitely good enough. Okay, there's another nice one for you. And yes, we don't ask for help. It's one of our limiting beliefs. Hey, Jill.
Hi, Jill. Hi, Jill.
Nice to see you. Jill is one of our writing buddies.
She's amazing.
We've all done this at the same time, so we are sisters. Okay, hi, Joyce.
Yeah.
Okay, so but Joyce, Kelly have shown us that's what she grew up with. So just have hope. Kelly's here to tell us you can have hope.
It's not easy, but it's just as well. It's like you train your brain. It's, I work with this girl and I tell her that, when she says, I just can't do this, I'm done. I've had enough. I'm giving up. I tell her, instead of saying that, say, what am I frustrated about? What is bothering me right now? And I can fix it. Or you let yourself have a bad day. But you remind yourself when that bad thought comes in, because I've had plenty of negative words said to me, and I go, that's not me. That's not who I am. And I am going to, I'm better. I'm worthy. And I know that I tried too hard to let what my dad used to tell me stick in my head. I'm not going to let him control me. So you just say it to yourself. And at first it's hard. At first, that thought keeps coming back. And when I have negative thoughts now, because we all do. I have something come up, I go, and I have to say, you know what? That's true. That sucks. But I'm not that person. I'm a good person and I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. And you just keep telling yourself positive stuff till you believe it. And if you don't believe it, you message me and I'll tell you.
Okay, it's another nice one for you.
How are you? Thank you.
Big hug, Jill. Okay, all right. Yes, that's when we stop taking things personal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we do have to take things a little bit lighter and know people that are going through their own stuff, and sometimes they project that on us. And that's why you have to believe in yourself enough to know that you are not, you're not going to be what they say. You know who you are. And especially when it's somebody you care about. But if it's somebody you care about and they say something, then you have to say something back. Not that minute, but another time when they're calmer, you say, you know what, when you said that about me, or when you said this, it really hurt my feelings. And I am not that person. And I would never, I always tell people, if you think that I said something rude, then just know that that's not true, because I'm not a rude person. I have learned, I have the gift, I guess it's a gift, where I can tell you exactly how I feel. You know exactly how I feel, but I say it in a nice way. And it's not about just, people are like, oh, you're too nice, blah, blah, blah. No, I choose to be nice.
Because we do it with love and not with judgment.
Yeah, I want to treat people, even if they're having a hard time, and even if they're not necessarily treating me nice, I'm not going to that level. I lived through that level. I know you're not going to see me yelling and screaming. I don't call people names. I don't have a big, nasty argument. If I feel like I'm getting things in my head that aren't very nice, guess what? I'm getting away from you until I calm myself down. And then when I calm myself down, then we'll talk about it. But you're not gonna talk rude to me. You're not gonna call me names, and you're not gonna tell me things that aren't true about myself. But I'm not gonna you.
Absolutely love that.
Like, we'll talk later.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul.
Yeah. So we've got and Paul's wonderfully articulate too. So
that means a lot, because that's what I struggle with. That's why I kind of try to talk slower, because I have all these thoughts in my head and I don't want them to come out too crazy. So thank you. That means a lot.
Okay. So another beautiful comment. Thank you for that, Paul. Okay.
Well, I'm 51 and I'm still healing, and I'm still growing, and I'm still working through things, because trauma and past stuff hurts, and people are like, it happened a long time ago. Why are you still bothered by it? Because it was my whole identity. It was when I was supposed to be learning who I was, I wasn't. So I had to learn. I had to grow up as an adult. Like the stages you use as a child and you grow up, I had to do that as an adult, because my growth was mentally stunted as a kid. So
yeah, that's what we call adult child syndrome, because you don't have those tools, and you have to go and learn these tools in adulthood. So
I had to learn them myself. I had to learn them myself and figure out stuff myself. But listen, when I tell you, when you go through stuff and you've been through trauma and you fight and you come to the other side, I'm telling you, I feel super strong about it. I feel, because I've been through it. So it's like, I can handle that. And people are like, oh, this happened. One of my cups broke. I'm like, I could care less. I just, well, that's partly because I have no attachment to material things, but I just,
that's the small stuff.
Yeah, I look at stuff and I truly think, can I fix it? This is a problem that's in front of me. Can I fix it? If I can't fix it, then I look at it and go, should I have this in my life? Or some things, you really don't really, that are struggling, that you have to kind of keep in your life. But I keep it at a distance and I protect myself. And that's when boundaries are really important. Like, I'm keeping that to protect myself. So it's really important to, I never look at a situation and say, I'm defeated. I go, what can I do? What can I do better? What can I do different? I worked too hard to get to this spot where I found peace. You are not stealing it. And that's
Kelly, before we started talking, I said to you, it's going to be okay, because I'm genuinely interested in how you did this by yourself. I help people through these things, and it takes a long time for people to learn these skills. And for you to have done this, okay, I do know you've had supporting people, and you've gone for counseling, and you've learned some stuff because you're a psych nurse. So it's not that you completely did this by yourself.
No, and not at all.
Yeah, and we don't advocate that anybody does this by yourself, because you don't have to wait a lifetime not to be codependent or get boundaries or be scared to ask for help. You can actually get a lot of help very fast, which I say a long time. I say you can start getting help from day one, and within 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line, you can be through a lot of these things that you worked a very long time to do it, but that you've managed to do it. Coming from such trauma, I admire you so much. I have
Thank you.
Such love for you. And so we can obviously, we've talked for an hour here. Listen, if you don't
I feel the same.
So we can obviously, and we will definitely talk again. We'll find some wonderful subjects, and we'll talk some more, and we'll let everybody know when we're talking to Kelly. And so we're going to look at the very last comment, and then we're going to say goodbye.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And me and you will decide what we're going to talk about next time.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so I want to say hi to Norma. Hi, Norma. Nice to see you.
Hi, Norma.
There's George again. And yes, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you were here.
Me too. I appreciate that very much.
Hi, Linda. Nice to see you. Okay.
Thank you. Hi, Linda.
Hope Chris is there. If Chris is there, I say hi, Chris. Okay. Yes.
That's true.
So, yeah. Okay. So, thank you everybody for coming, for sitting.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm going to ask all of you who are here tonight, if you know of somebody who's going to benefit from this, and you all know somebody, please share the link of this video to somebody, because we all know that people just need to be aware of these. Once you're aware of stuff, then you can work with it. If you're not aware of what's going on, if you don't even know what's going on, you can't work with it. And the second thing, which is very important, is when you know it can be done, you get hope. So please, everybody, if you know somebody needs this, please share this. Let's all pay it forward today and go and help somebody else. Kelly, love you lots. Everybody, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
All here. And so we will be back next week, Tuesday. Wait, let me quickly tell you, everybody. On Thursday evening, inside the group, I'm going to have a conversation with my assistant, Sarah, who is now my assistant, but we've walked a long road together, and Sarah's story is very interesting. So I want to introduce her to everybody so that you know who's the Sarah who's posting. And Sarah will tell you whichever parts of her story she wants to, but it's inside the group. So I will leave a link for you. And I hope I'm going to see all of you. You're going to love this. You're going to love this girl. Okay, so, and I hope to see you all inside the group on Thursday. I think it's the same time. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's the same time. But I will confirm. I'll post it in time. Okay, we are actually going to play our song now. And we are going to say goodbye to everybody. Okay, thanks for coming, people. Love you, lots.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.